Okay, so this is take 2 of the video. First one, the sound didn't work. Anyway, so I'm using a different camera. I know the sound on this one works. Before I get started, this is the bust of, let me see, can't remember who it was. Holland mold. And the year is 1965. You can find this on my eBay. If I remember, I'll put it in the description. My rant today and yesterday when I made the bad video is about this video by Natural World that appeared on my feed on Facebook. This is one of the recommendations. I only have 8 friends. Now, Facebook has to quit doing this. They'll put these recommended, and they're probably advertised, probably paid advertisement by these other pages on Facebook, these other organizations that have pages on Facebook. I don't see why they would do it for free. But because I only have 8 friends, I have a lot of these recommended pages on my feed. I'm not interested. You know, if I wanted, I would search them out and I would, you know, become a member of them. So Facebook's got to quit doing that. Quit recommending crap in people's feed. Anyways, this one exhibit, I guess that's what you call it, one post that was in my feed was by a organization or Facebook page called Natural World. It was of a frog or toad, don't know the difference, and some type of lizard. And what they did was they put a worm on the ground to see, and the lizard was the one that was getting all the worms that were, every worm that was put down that was shown in the video. Some might have been edited out. There might have been some that the frog toad got that was edited out. You could tell there was a little editing. It might have just been for time. It might have been just them getting more worms. I don't know. But there was some editing, obvious editing. And what annoyed me, first and foremost, what annoyed me was the inhumanity of this. The frog was unable to get any of the worms that were shown. That was cruel. They kept putting more worms out, knowing the toad frog would not be able to get it, and the lizard would get every one. That was inhumane. When you see that happening and you own pets, you make sure that the other pet, you know, the other animal gets the feed, part of the feed too. You don't keep doing the same thing over and over. That's cruel. And then what I noticed was the frog would leap a little bit forward. It would just kind of move the front of its body forward and then move back. And I don't know if this is common among frogs. Somebody in the comments suggested that the frog might have like deformed legs or might have bad hip joints or something. But the frog would move forward to try and get the worm, but then move back. You know, I wish you could see what I was doing. It's hard to explain. There's a link to the video in the description. You can watch the video. You'll know what I'm saying. Whereas the lizard would move forward. You know, it's like on 4 legs, crawling, I guess you'd call it, and move forward. Well, this is the difference between these two animals. Frogs were not meant to go forward to get their prey. They were meant to, you know, they hop, hop, hop to get where they're going when they want to move. They don't really hop, hop, hop to get their prey. They just sit there and wait. And I don't think there's a deformation. There was no suggestion of what type of frog toad it might be, so I couldn't look it up to see if this was maybe a deformity or if this was how they naturally act when they're getting prey, when they're hunting prey, you know, talking about the forward and back movement. But it seems in my mind that it would be more likely than the lizard for the frog just to sit there, wait, kind of leap a little bit forward to get its prey, stick out its tongue, grab whatever it is, you know, the fly, the worm, the ant, and then just sit there. You know, they sit on lily pads. Just think about what frogs do. They sit, you know. And then this lizard, now, I got to explain the atmosphere. This was on some type of concrete. It was on some type of outdoor. It was outdoors. It was on some type of dry concrete or cement. I don't know the difference, but I've heard there is. Some type of hard surface. More conducive to the lizard's natural habitat than the toad frogs. And so, of course, in this type of situation, the lizard's going to be at an advantage anyways, no matter if the frog had a deformity or not, because this is more closely related to the natural habitat of the lizard. What's been evolved into the lizard's psyche, the lizard's design, it's all evolved into the best body and mental state. That's a bad word, bad phrase. Not mental capacity. Reaction to surviving. Avoiding predators, getting their prey, finding shelter, having shelter, cooling itself, heating itself up, whatever. Right? So whatever, the bottom line is, the frog was at a disadvantage. Whether he had deformed legs, bad hip joints, or this was just so far from his natural habitat that he couldn't thrive. It was inhumane. The people in the video knew that the frog was at a disadvantage and continuously put the worms knowing that the frog wouldn't be able to get them. That's inhumane. And I put that it was inhumane. I was just going to leave it there. But then I saw other people making case examples relating it to human nature, saying the frog was fat, saying that the frog was lazy. And not just saying that the frog was fat and lazy, but again, relating it to human nature. I might have even let go about the frog being fat and lazy. The frog was not lazy, and the frog was definitely not fat. The way the frog's body is shaped, to us humans, because we're shaped different, yes, frog might look fat, but we have to remind ourselves this frog is shaped differently. The frog was not fat, and the frog was not lazy. The frog was trying to get the worm. The frog couldn't. For whatever reason, he was at a disadvantage, or she was at a disadvantage. I don't know if the frog is a he or she. The lizard was more at advantage just simply from it being more to its natural habitat. You know, the frog is more in a more wet atmosphere. It might be, depending on the toad frog, you know, it might be living mostly in water, or it might be living mostly on land, but it's a wetness. It's a wet spot. It's a soft, not some hard concrete. It's a soft land, you know. So this was far from its natural habitat. So that alone put it at a disadvantage. And how it's supposed to get its prey. You know, again, frogs do not run to their prey. They sit there and wait for the prey to come to them. All right, whereas a lizard will chase after the prey or move towards the prey to get closer to it. So, anyways, it started I guess you call it a Facebook argument. I didn't go into it very deep. I just stated stated my opinion that what people were saying about this was wrong. The frog was not lazy. The frog was not fat. The frog was just at a disadvantage. Right? And I truly do believe there was nothing wrong physically with the frog. I still don't think so. But it might have been. But what I said is you've got the frog in a habitat so unnatural to its habitat in the wild that of course it's not going to be able to be as successful as the lizard who's in more like his natural habitat. And boy, did that sort of, everybody says, oh, the frog's fat, the frog's lazy, blah, blah, blah. And first I said, you know what, give me the breed of the frog. Because somebody said, oh, these frogs are naturally, they don't live in the water, they live in the land, but they didn't say the breed of the frog. So I'm like, okay, wise one, tell me what the breed of the frog is. I can look at the frog, I can study it a little bit, see what it's natural, and then we can progress there with this argument. I didn't get an immediate response, so I moved on to something else. And other people were saying that there were other organizations or people trying to be YouTube stars narrating this video talking about how if you're lazy, if you're fat, you won't succeed in life. Take this frog and toad. This is like comparing cars with newspapers. There's no comparison to the frog and the lizard and human behavior. Okay, these are two animals, two totally different atmospheres that they live in naturally. And then on top of it, you cannot compare these animals that thrive only in their natural habitat to humans who can thrive everywhere, because we just destroy everything in our path and make it to where it's beneficial only to us. That's why most animals are now extinct. That's what we do. We're obnoxious jerks. Okay, you cannot compare these animals. And so on I went with the other fallacy that fat people are unproductive, not successful. There's a lot of fat actors, more than actors and actresses, because people let men slide with a lot of things that they do not let women slide with in the least, right? You got John Candy. There's another John. Who's that one that died from drugs and eating unhealthy food? He was on Saturday Night Live all the time. I didn't think it was funny. Everybody thought it was hilarious. I thought it was juvenile humor. John Goodman is another one. A lot of comedians, Fluffy. Let's see, there's a lot that's not coming to mind right now. But yeah, I mean, you have fat people, Rosie O'Donnell, Roseanne Barr, them are two. But women don't get away. Oh, what's her name? McCartney? She played on. Oh, the man from King of Queens. He's fat. He's very successful. This other one, she played on, I can't remember, Mike and Kate or something like that. They were both fat actors, and now I don't know what happened to him. I don't think he's as successful as she is, but she played on a lot of movies. McCarty, I think her last name is. Anyways, she played on a lot, and she's very successful. But it's harder for a fat woman to be successful, like I said, because of the prejudice that women have to attain, have to put up with that men don't. So, anyways, yeah. So that says nothing. Laziness. The laziest people are the wealthiest people. The CEOs who sit in their chair all day and brown nose the shareholders. They're making good money. They got the nicest house, the nicest cars, they get bailed out by the government, and nobody bats an eye at that, right? Yeah, pretty lazy. But the factory worker who's making a low wage, working hard, they're not the ones that are, driving the nice cars, having the big houses, going on the vacations to the Cancun. They don't have the money to do that. And they can't take the time off of work because they got limited time off of work. If you a CEO or you own a company, you can take all the time off you want. As long as it keeps your company afloat. But when you're a rank and file, you can't do that. Even when you're middle management, upper management, you usually can't do that. And you're at a lower pay. Much, much lower pay. So this thing about being lazy, not being successful. Don't even get me started about generational wealth and how lazy that makes a person. So, yeah, I could tell you the story about when I was 17, how I used to walk 2 miles one way to work in the Texas heat, to work a minimum wage job as, what would they call it now, a retail sales? I think they just called it a salesperson back then. Minimum wage. And if I could get a second job after that, I always had one, working in the same place, so I didn't have to walk even further. I didn't have to walk that 2 miles home. It was 2.1 miles one way, so 4.2 miles. Every day I had to work, and I worked as many days as possible because I needed the money. And if I wanted to go anywhere, I had to walk that 2.1 miles to the bus stop because the nearest bus stop was where I worked, which was at a mall. The mall is called West Oaks Mall. It's in Houston, Texas. You can look it up. I lived on Indian Mill.